Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. This is our weekly Q&A episode at Poddymore Heath. I'm your host Dan Rolinson, joined by John Townley for what we think, besides a specific set of circumstances in the Man City game, this might be your final appearance on the podcast until the Hockley Live show next week. There's a full stop there.
You were about to kick me off. Yeah, I think
because you're off at the back end of the week, so you won't do the preview. And
just say there's only one thing that could sway us into maybe doing another video, but. Yeah, it's going to feel weird. I said to you, I'm going to be rocking back and forth in a seat somewhere. I'm going to need someone to talk to. So, it's going to be really exciting few days ahead. Probably best I'm not on the podcast, to be fair, because it would just be 50 minutes of me yapping along to different permutations. So,
well, we're going to do a bit of that today. One of the questions, one of the questions is about permutations, which is your speciality. Yeah. We'll start with Ricardo. We're going to dive straight into it. Who simply says, "Why is everybody losing their minds about Man United? Just like Friday against Spurs, we're better than them. If we turn up, we'll win. It's that simple."
History is why.
Generational trauma, I replied on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I remember doing a walk and talk after the Bournemouth game, and I said, then you got Man United, and I couldn't think of any of the word apart from just scars. I said scars. That is it. Everyone talks about United as this terrible team, which they have been this season, and were pretty poor last season, but much worse this campaign. Yeah, we haven't beaten them in 3 attempts and lost twice. Yeah. So, it's one of those, you're just going to have to see it to believe it. You really are. Any other team going to Old Trafford on the final day, I would put it down as they'll win that game. Like, if Chelsea would go in there, if Newcastle would go in there, if City would go in there, fair, I say that. I think City failed to beat them and drew 0-0, I think, at Old Trafford. So, I don't know, mate. I think sometimes when United play a team who are actually quite good, they can get up for it. It's similar to Spurs in a way, because their players are still internationals. They're not bad players. They're just in that team, in that environment.
In a bad moment.
Yeah, in a bad moment. Yeah, very football-like, that is. It's just none of it's conducive for it being good over the course of a league season where you have to be consistent and they're anything but that. So, while I think we are, as fans, optimistic that we're going to win, or confident, shall I say, that we can win at Old Trafford, it's another thing seeing it and actually believing it. I do think most of the teams would win there, though. So, as Ricardo says, that's why we shouldn't be fearing it at all. But there's reasons why we are.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think if it was, you could explain loads of different scenarios of games we've gone there in the past and not done well, and I'd be inclined to say, well, that doesn't matter because we're a different team now. But last year,
exactly,
2-0 up and somehow lost the game.
We still couldn't win.
I know it's really frustrating. So, that home game this year was just after Bayern, was it?
It was, but even then you thought we should have enough to make a couple of chances to win.
It was a terrible game from both sides. So we're kind of like due one. I know we won there when Courtney Hall scored.
That was the
only one, wasn't it?
Yeah, then Martinez and Ronaldo, and the penalty goes over from Fernandes. It felt like everything was kind of put into one game.
There's you one for the next decade.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I hope not.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm confident we're going to win the game.
Yeah.
But
I can understand why people are nervous.
Yeah, and I think we will be. It's Monday as we record. Come Tuesday, they'll already. So
a slippery slope into nervousness as the week goes on.
Yeah, but what I would say is that we're the fans, they're the players, they're the 11, and more players who can actually influence things and win the match.
Yeah.
They won't be thinking, it's Old Trafford. Do you remember when Gabby scored here ages ago? They don't think about that. The players will be thinking, it's Old Trafford, chance to win a game. They've either won or lost the Europa League.
Remember when we blew it last year is what they'll be thinking.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they have scars as well. But no, I do think as professionals, they'll go out there, win this game. There's a chance that you're in the Champions League, and that's all the motivation that they'll need.
Yeah, I think how I've felt about this period, and anyone who listens to the podcast regularly knows that when we talked about those final four, I wasn't sure we'd win all of them. Bournemouth being the sticking point, I thought. Now having won 3 in a row, and it's all down to the final day, and if Villa win, if City lose to Bournemouth, if Villa win, that's it, they're in. But you win the game and you've got a decent chance that a result goes your way elsewhere, you'll be in the Champions League again. That's too big of a carrot for Villa to go after and not grasp that opportunity. So I feel like we'll just find a way to win somehow. I'm just blindly going to believe that until I'm proven otherwise. So whether results go our way or not, as long as we do our job, show up and win, we can't really ask for much more.
That's it. If we win our game 3-0 and we don't get in the Champions League, I'll feel obviously deflated because we haven't got the Champions League, but I wouldn't feel
Like if we lose the game, I'll be
frustrated.
We've lost how?
If we didn't beat Spurs, if we don't beat United, it feels like it's our fault.
Yeah.
And I know you can look back to other games, but the run that we've been on since the turn of the year, when we did that video saying the chances of Villa getting the Champions League now are super slim because they're going to have to win. I don't know how many games it was, but it was what we've done.
I think we said something like 10 out of the final 13. I don't think it's quite that, but it's near enough.
Yeah, and the run we've been on has been insane. Apart from that last-minute goal that we conceded against City, it's been an incredible run of form.
Yeah.
You look at the clean sheets we're keeping now as well, which is something that I think goes under the radar a little bit. We were really shipping a lot of goals.
Well, every score prediction was, they'll definitely score.
Yeah,
the last few weeks hasn't.
Palace 4-1, conceded 4 goals. We've conceded 4 goals since that game, which feels like not a lifetime ago, but a long time ago now.
But when we did that video, if we do get into the Champions League...
Was it after Wolves or after Palace?
I think it was after Palace. It's quite good to get that video back and react to what we said at the time. Cause
what we said was accurate, though.
At the time it was, but if we do get into the Champions League, it will be quite funny to look back at it. Had we not won back-to-back games up until that point?
Weird.
Or something like that?
Yeah, I had a stat somewhere that we hadn't won back-to-back since
we've done it once,
Wolves,
then not again.
Everton.
Yeah.
There was a stat in there somewhere, I can't remember exactly what it was. Or it wasn't, we hadn't won away games too.
Yeah, which is why we didn't think we'd then go and win 8 out of 9 or whatever it is.
It's an obscene amount of points that we've taken.
Yeah.
It was similar to the last season when I went back and looked at all of the 11-game cycles and said, wait, if we don't get the Champions League from this position, it would be our worst run of form for like a year and a half or something, and it nearly was.
I remember that 11 cycle thing. That was good. Good fun. That was.
Yeah. I'm not going to do it for this game because it's just a 1-game cycle. But we really have turned our form around. So yeah, conceding goals is something that we don't do much of now. So that fills me with more confidence. We go to Old Trafford. If we concede 1, or dare I say even 2, maybe not 2, but if we concede once, I'd like to think we can score a couple of ourselves at least. So
yeah, definitely.
That's why I'm confident.
Okay, the thing that maybe sways a few people, whether that's also those listening, is the approach, which is from the next question from D. What's the plan of attack for Sunday? Will it be a typical Emery away performance, sit tight first half, or all guns blazing from kick-off?
No,
I don't think it'll be either, weirdly.
Yeah,
because I don't think we can go all guns blazing as much as I'd like to score 3 in the first 15 minutes and win the game.
For the sake of the question, though, which would you prefer to do either one of those?
I'd prefer all guns blazing if I had to pick one or the other. I think and again, if I knew the outcome of the game was Villa win, then the Emery performance one is fine. Like, I'd rather we do our thing. But watching the game, if we're like 0-0 after an hour and it's all really tight and horrible, then I'm not going to enjoy it at all. If we're 3-0 up after 15 minutes, then I'll be absolutely buzzing, obviously.
It's an interesting... I think for us, interesting. But I actually think the United side is more interesting. What are they going to do? Because that will have to inform... For example, United, final game of the season, if they win in Bilbao, I don't really think they care about this game, really. However, win or lose... It's the final home game of the season. They're going to want to win it. They're not going to settle for a draw. Does it matter? They're already in 16th or something. I say they need to win. They'd like to win, and they will try to win. That, I think, would help us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're going to be camped behind the ball or anything like that, playing for a point.
Yeah.
That's just not the United way.
Yeah.
And it can't be for this game. The fans don't.
No point, is that?
The fans aren't.
If you're going to lose trying.
I think the fans are turning up to kind of try and enjoy a final game. Maybe they can get a couple goals or something. Hopefully they don't, obviously. But with that knowledge, I think that helps us. Whereas, as you say, in the 60th minute, I don't think they will be like so deep when they can't get out of the box, but they're okay with that. I think it will be more, we need to commit a few men forward for this attack.
But we've got a crap record there, as we all know. But if we go there knowing we have to win, and United are playing as well, I think, like you say, that suits us to try and play against.
They'll try and score some goals, because what else have they got to do?
Us to try and counter-attack that.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that scenario with our record against United than if we would now go into like West Ham away and they just need a point to stay up and they're scrapping for absolutely everything and it means something. This game doesn't mean anything to United. So they'll play for kind of like freedom and fun and they might score, like you say, a couple of goals. But even if they do, I'll back us to score 3. Because if it's 2-2 and there's 10 minutes to go, we'll throw the kitchen sink at it because a draw isn't good enough for us.
They might commit a bit as well. Or they definitely would commit a bit as well. Which, as you say, draw won't be good enough. So we need to win the game. So I'm happy to catch them on counters and what they're going to have to try and show up. If they stink the place out and lose 2-0, that would be worse for Amorim. Not that it really matters, because if they don't win, they don't win. But that would be worse for Amorim if they went for it and they lost 4-2 or something. I don't know.
I agree.
I think they need to try and entertain the fans a little bit.
And that will probably be led by some about the Europa League final. So if they've won it, they're going to parade the trophy around anyway, and everyone's having a good time regardless. If they lose, it will be a bit like, if you get battered by Villa as well, it's not a good look, is it?
The more I think about it, I think the fact of them winning the cup, I think that would be better.
I think it's better as well.
I think either way, I would be like, whatever. But if I had to pick one, I'd rather them win it.
Yeah.
And then enjoy it.
I don't want United to win it, but I think for the game specifically, I think it's better for Villa if they've won it. Let's do permutations now. There was a question from Danny. Can you please outline all of the possibilities needing to happen for us to qualify for the Champions League? Now, we just said then a draw is no good for us. Technically, there are some permutations where a point would be enough. However,
forget that.
It's too complicated. Forget that. That's not the game plan. But if the game is going that it's 89, 89, 88, 89, 90 minutes, Villa are drawing, City have lost to Bournemouth already and they're losing to Fulham. Like, yes, a point will be enough in that circumstance, right? Forget that. Villa want to win the game, will hopefully win the game. So the permutations around that is all about how do the others not get to 69. Mm-hmm. So Newcastle losing to Everton. Drawing as well?
Failing to win.
Oh, okay, right. So that's Newcastle failing to win. They would not be able to get to 69 unless they win that game.
They get to 68.
Villa win, they get 69, overtake Newcastle, Champions League. Man City getting less than 3 points
as long as
the next 2. So this is going before Bournemouth.
Yeah,
so.
The City aspect is if they lose one game.
Yeah, or draw both.
So Villa have won their match, pretend that. If City lose one game, we're ahead of them.
Yeah.
Or they draw both.
Yeah. So if they win to Bournemouth...
They only need a point against Fulham.
Win to Bournemouth? If they win against Bournemouth, they'd only need a point against Fulham. Or if they won that game as well, Villa can't catch them and they'd be in there regardless of us winning. Chelsea Forest is the biggest one and the one that everyone is looking at because that's the most likely. Yeah. I think Newcastle will beat Everton at St James's in their final home game of the season. And I think City will get at least 4 points from these next 2. As much as I want them to not do that, I think they will.
Even though it's not a given, the Chelsea game is just quite simple.
Yeah, because
Chelsea don't win.
It's looking at different fixtures. I know we're not physically doing it, but looking around fixtures around the country, it's one contained game in one stadium where both opponents are important to Villa.
It is nice to know that you have the City one as well, though.
Yeah,
even if they beat Bournemouth, playing at Craven Cottage on the final day, considering City is City, they didn't score against Southampton or Palace. That won't be easy. And Fulham, although European qualification will be difficult for them here, even still. They'll want to.
What's their last game as well?
Let's play City and let's beat them.
Fulham have done us some favours over the years, so if I can do one more for us, then I'll absolutely take that. But Chelsea Forest is the one that is happening. Two teams that are important to Villa going against each other. Not all of them can get maximum points for that reason.
Yeah, Forest need to win.
Forest now have to win and have the Champions League carrot themselves. That they'll be thinking, well, if we beat Chelsea and Villa don't win, all of a sudden Forest are back in the Champions League, so they absolutely have something to play for now.
That's why I thought it was important at West Ham.
I think some people were a little bit like, well, if they lost to West Ham, we're guaranteed Europa League because we couldn't finish 7th. But I'm looking upwards rather than looking behind. Like, them winning against West Ham means they now want to beat Chelsea, and that's good for us as well. So
if we win our game, we are at least in Europa League.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's
so
what I think about.
I wasn't bothered either way in that sense. Chelsea have to win.
Yep.
Even a draw isn't good enough.
No, they have to win.
So when I was speaking the other day about after Spurs, TalkSport were kind of going on as if Chelsea already done it. They have to win.
Yeah.
And that was before Forest now have something to play for with West Ham. But this is kind of maybe bold to say already, but I don't see Chelsea winning. It's at Forest. They've got something to play for now.
Yeah.
It's their final home game. They've had a great season. They want to see it off. Maybe it's Gibbs White's last game and he wants to go out on a high. Like, there is context there for Forest going for it. I almost think maybe they cancel each other out and it's a 2-2 draw or something. Yeah. That's still good for Villa.
It's really interesting, damn it. I agree. My reaction to that would be, I would be surprised if Chelsea won.
Yeah, I would.
I would be.
I think that's a surprise.
I would be surprised. And I look at Chelsea and I think they've had some decent results recently, beating Fulham and whatnot. And I come on a podcast and try and make that into a positive. I'm going to hang on to it. But against United, like, obviously didn't watch the game. I was watching the Villa game. But it appeared that without Reece James, they had nothing there. And I looked at the starting 11 and I thought, like,
I mean,
like, they obviously Cole was a good. Cole Will. Yeah, Liverpool. Claret, good player. Like Caicedo, fantastic player. But as a team, you look at it and think, yeah.
The table doesn't lie. If they finish above us, they deserve to, because we've dropped points in games we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But pound for pound, Villa are a better side than Chelsea.
And you look at us and you think, well, we are a team. Judge us basically after January, or from the start of February. We are definitely a Champions League team, and this is the point of why it's like, like if only we had this, and maybe I'm not going to go over the results again.
All the other clubs can do the same.
We really. True, but it just feels like our sample size is so... You know, like when Fulham got promoted ahead of us that one year in 17-18, they deserved to go up because they were clearly better.
They were the third best team in the league that year, weren't they?
One of the best, maybe even on par with Wolves, really, at that point.
Yeah.
That's how I view us. Like, I think we thrash Newcastle. I feel like we're like third best team or something right now. So to finish fifth and miss out would be... sixth, miss out would be like... Oh. But anyway, the Forest game's really interesting because Chelsea and Forest both have to win. Part of me doesn't like that though.
Why?
Because Forest are going to have to throw the kitchen sink at Chelsea.
Yeah.
And they're obviously very vulnerable to losing in that position.
That's not really their style though, is it, Forest?
It's not, but they're going to have to, aren't they? At points, for example, if it's, let's call it 65 minutes and it's 1-1, that's great for Villa, because at this point we're there. But Forest have to go and...
Providing we're winning at Old Trafford, by the way. We're just assuming that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
But Forest have to go and win the game, leave themselves open at the back. I know the Chelsea would be exactly the same thing. They'd leave themselves at the back and you'd back Forest to score more goals on the counter-attack because that's what they want to do. But chaos is how I see that, basically. I think chaos. So hopefully Villa can quickly do their job. And you can have Sky Sports on your screen instead of your match ball because it's already done. That would be the ideal situation, but it's not going to be like that.
I think we can do this one quickly from Bob. Do you think goal difference still won't come into play? Yes. I'm standing by what I said. The
point is that it could, but we don't think it. You don't think it will because Villa will win and Chelsea won't.
Yeah.
So therefore we'll be fine.
My predictions are Chelsea won't win and Villa will win, so goal difference won't be important. If Chelsea win, we win. City get to 69 and Newcastle get to 69, then goal difference will be a thing, obviously. But I don't see all those things happening, which is why I don't think it will be a thing.
Again, we're a team of... So this season's been a season of two halves, and that's why the goal difference isn't great, because we haven't been consistent in the first half. We have been consistent in the second. We knew this already 5 weeks ago, that we should have beat Bournemouth, that we should have beaten this team, we should have been that team. Nothing new.
Yeah. All right, Owen and Ben both ask about PSR, and again, we can probably talk about it quickly in the sense that we don't really have an answer and we'll come back to it, which is a bit of a cop-out, but Owen says, can we find out what kind of grip PSR exactly has on us? How much do we have to generate by the end of June? It feels after the sales of Duran, Diaby, Philogene and Carlos, surely we should be close to have done enough. And Ben says, can the Claret and Blue team do some analysis to find out how much profit we've had from player sales since Emery arrived? Which, we have made profit on quite a lot of players and made some good transfer fees back, which is obviously important. We're going to do a finance episode when we know what competition we're in, because that has a bearing on it. So, I mean, we could record it this week, but it'll be full of caveats of like, well, if it's Europa League or even it could be Conference League still, then it's different. So I kind of want to wait till that's all done and middle of June we know where we are. Maybe you'll have seen some player sales by then anyway. I don't imagine it's going to be a massive hole Villa have to find. It's not going to be we need to raise 80 million and we're going to get a points deduction. It's probably going to be what, 20?
No, from what we've heard in the club, it's not as severe or as panic stations, as it were, as last summer.
And last year was around 40 odd, which is what Louise went for.
Well, Louise went for, and obviously you had Tim and Amara as well. So,
But it was the Louise one that avoided the points deduction, wasn't it? So say it's 40 million was what we had to do last year.
Villa and Newcastle were both staring down the barrel of double digits being deducted in points.
So if it's not as bad as last year, and last year was 40 odd, it's less than that.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that Villa need to sell to raise money to buy. That's the point. So you might even see Villa exceed the amount in which they need. For example, X figure gets them over the line, right? They might do 20 million more than that because a player...
Oh, hold on, mate.
Sorry.
Ring doorbell.
Nice phone case.
I'll talk about that in a sec, actually.
Looks cool.
It's dinosaurs, picked with the help of my son who likes dinosaurs. And I picked it because, like, If I go take a picture of him, he'll look at my phone.
Oh, good.
So he actually looks at the camera. So yeah, dinosaurs, and I've just kept it. Why not? Anyway, that's the Ring doorbell done.
So if you have X figure that they need to make by June 30, they might exceed that by, a significant sum. Who knows? It depends what interests there are in players. We said last year that it was one thing selling Luiz, but also selling him to a club that were happy to pay a reasonable figure to get Villa out whole. Essentially, no one wanted to do that. Everyone wanted to see them get deducted points, as you would. Obviously. You have to take advantage of it. It's like the Wild
If
West.
Newcastle came to us now and said, will you buy so-and-so to help us get out of a points deduction for next year? Obviously not.
No, of course not, unless it's something in it for you. So yeah, it's going to be, again, a really fascinating summer window, but it's nothing that, that scares. Last summer was scary for Villa up until the point in which they sold Luiz because of complications in terms
of late as well for the
they had to bring in two players, Enzo and Samuel Young Jr. Luiz had to go. There's agents there. There's other bits and bobs that you need to sort. It really did go to the wire. So Villa will know that kind of situation, and then this summer they'll have the ducks in a row. And
I'm not going to go into this now because I think it's a separate video later down the line. But I'm not bothered about player sales to the extent of we need to do this for PSR reasons and we need to make 30 million. We need to make money to make the squad better.
That's my point.
So we're going to sell players anyway, whether it's before June 30th or before September 1st or whatever the deadline is. Villa will sell players because they need to sign players, and that's just the way the world works.
If you said now Villa are going to raise only 40 million in the summer, I'd say that's probably bad.
Yeah,
that's bad. Villa need to raise more than that to bring in more players.
Maybe less so about the specific transfer fees, but they definitely need to get rid of a lot of wages.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
To help build
if you raise 40 million, that could be two players. Two squad players as well. 2 times £20 million. It's not a lot in this world. So if you're talking about them raising £100 million or something, I'm not saying they need to, because that's kind of the figure that then allows you to spend. What would that be, 100 and something?
I heard somebody at Villa Park talking about this, about almost like a confusion about PSR, about we sold Douglas Luiz for about 40 to get out of a debt, basically, just to phrase it like that, and then we go and spend 50 on Onana. Like, how does this work? And it's that 40 million from Douglas Luiz goes into your account as 40 million, and Onana's 50. Is it a 5-year contract? It's split over 5 years. That it's 10 million this year, 10 million next year. So it's 30 million profit in that specific transfer, one in, one out.
That's kind
of how PSR works.
You sell Tim Rubenham for around 10. You bring in Dobbin for around 10. But the money you've spent, you don't spend it yet. It's not spent. Yeah. Villa, in terms of spending and making money, their net spend in the Premier League since Emery came in is really low. One of the lowest in the league, which is something that I don't think people quite take on board as well, because Villa have spent a lot of money since being promoted. Of course, you don't get to the Champions League without it, but they've also sold a lot since Emery came in. They're cleaning up a lot of mess. Dendonker's coming back. Coutinho's coming back. Likely Dendonker's coming back. Sorry, I don't think Anderlecht are activating a buy option. It's around £5 or £6 million. So there's other players that they've had to keep on up until now, and these are problems that they're gonna that won't be there, if that makes sense, in a few years, because now you're looking at Villa's dead wood are international players. It's not deadwood isn't even a thing in this squad, because all of those players could be starting. Really, where they are now, they have assets, and they also have assets that aren't even. For example, Leon Bailey and
he's the next question.
Luca Dean, for example. Luca Dean probably won't be there next season because Villa are going to have to sell to get his wage off the books, final 12 months. I'd be surprised if he was given a new deal just because of that fact. But he won't be going for £5 million. Do you know what I mean? That's not a Dendoncker transfer. This is a France left back at the peak, really, of his career. He's been playing fantastic this season and last season. That's what we may be selling, rather than whoever else, Ali Sissoko. Like those days are long gone. Villa have strong assets across the squad, and that's the positive thing, really.
James asks, what is the realistic figure that you'd both put on Leon Bailey? His reaction on Friday to coming on makes it seem as though he's out the door, but I've no idea whether it'll be for 10 million, 30 million, or somewhere in between, which is probably a good way to summarise it. I mean, 10 million is obviously too low. He's had one poor season. In his time at Villa, he's probably had one excellent season,
one really good season,
one average season, and maybe one poor one or whatever. We signed him for, what was it, 28 or 30, something like that?
Was it 25? Something? Yeah, around there.
The 100 million we got for Grealish was basically all spent on Buendia, Ings,
Buendia was 36,
and Bailey.
38.
So
Bailey,
30-ish each on average. I don't know. If we'd have sold him last summer, we'd have made a profit on him. Obviously, we won't make a profit on him this year in terms of like getting more than we paid for him. It was a few years ago though, so from a book's perspective, if we make 20 million on him, it's a good sale. I think somewhere between 18 and 25.
I think that's about right. Teams don't look at Bailey like a lot of Villa fans do sometimes and think, oh, he had one good season and he's no good. Get rid of him. It's not that. He is a good player. No one does what he did last season and say it's a fluke. That was, 50-something games. Yeah. I would actually go as far as saying, and this might sound mad to some people, Bailey as an individual season last season is one of my favourite individual Villa seasons in my lifetime. Genuinely.
Yeah, that's probably fair, yeah.
The way he was playing.
I mean, you've seen a lot of crap footballers, so yeah.
He was unreal last season, he really was.
Yeah. And even if he was half as good as that this season, Villa would probably already be in the Champions League places now.
That was on par with an Ashley Young season of when we were with Martin O'Neill. It really was. It was that good. So yeah, I would probably say...
I'd be surprised if you got less than £20 million for him.
I would as well, yeah. I would like to think we can get at least 20.
Yeah.
20 to 25 would be around that. I think if you're going over 25, that would be great business because that's a player who's had a poor season still. But clearly he has something about him because of last campaign, and I do think in another league he could thrive. The Premier League physical demands are obviously greater than in the Bundesliga or the divisions as well, so I think he would have a good season wherever he went, basically. And again, good age, good contract as well in terms of length, so Villa are pretty safe in that respect. So anything under 20 I think would be too cheap, and it would be a good deal I think for another club as well.
David says simply, what has been your goal of the season? And did we touch on this a little bit, didn't we, about Duran not being in the
Didn't I
official...
say it was Brandon Mekele from Club Brugge, the own goal?
Yeah.
Was that on a podcast?
That was your favourite goal in the Champions League run.
It was, yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. I don't mind if it's like I get the question, I don't mind if it's a scream or a tapping, like whatever makes you feel good. Yeah. But in terms of aesthetic, I guess, what would you say?
I think it's between Duran versus Everton or Duran versus Bayern, yeah.
To be fair, you could throw in like the Leicester header. That was an outrageous header, wasn't it?
I think Bayern is what I'm going to go for. It's not Premier League goal of the season, obviously it's Champions League, but winning 1-0 Bayern Munich, we've talked about it a million times before, so I'm not going to go into it. I'd like to have picked, and I haven't done the prep for it because I did the questions this morning, I'd like to have picked a team goal because I like that as a goal of the season, that this is our, like, if you had to put a picture in the dictionary of Unai Emery Aston Villa 2025, this is kind of what we can do. You know, hitting a ball from 40 yards is like, I don't want to say anyone can do it, but you know what I mean? We couldn't do it.
Talk for yourself. No,
I like a team goal, but I haven't actually looked through them.
I'd say the Everton goal, just the way he cut across the ball and the shot from behind Duran as well. Pickford had no idea where it was going. So, I'd say Everton.
Okay. Jack says, Marco Asensio has been taking set pieces for us when starting. The very first corner we changed from him to McGinn against Tottenham, we score. Who is our best set piece taker from a crossing position and a shooting position?
Sounds like it's McGinn. When was the last time we scored a direct free kick?
Dean scored the one against United, which I know isn't the last.
I often say
this. Spurs?
Whenever Louise was against Spurs, I
think that was the last free kick we scored. Unless we scored one this season.
And then Luca Dean was before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever a free kick in and around the box comes up, quite often, I don't think he realises it, or I realise it until now, but Jacob will always say, when was the last time Villa scored a direct free kick? And I'll be like, and then I'll always say Louise. I think it's Louise. And then he'd be like, no, I can't. Is it? And we're like, yeah, I think so.
We haven't scored a free kick
and
this year,
and then the ball hits the wall.
Rashford hit the post and Nathan won.
Did he?
Yeah. At Villa Park.
Did he hit the bar?
Well, post or bar, I can't remember.
Yeah, vaguely remember, yeah. I think it was.
And I seem to remember saying then, we've not scored one since Louise.
Yeah,
so I don't think we've scored a direct free kick this season, which is quite poor, I think.
Oh, you know what?
Have we forgot one?
We forgot one.
Have we?
Yeah.
We scored a free kick this year?
No, last season.
Oh.
Direct. I'm pretty certain.
After Louise's one at Spurs?
Yeah.
Really?
No, because that was the season before, wasn't it? Should I give you a clue?
I know I would take a random stab in the dark. Yeah.
Probably the worst day of last season.
United? Boxing Day? We scored a free kick then.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Who would have taken that?
All this time I've said to Jacob, oh no, Louise. It wasn't.
Come on, put me out of my misery.
So Bailey stood next to
it.
Onana, didn't he? And John McGinn calls one into the far corner.
From a free kick?
Yeah.
Last year?
It wouldn't be a corner.
Onana weren't there? Oh, Onana, the goalkeeper.
Onana, goalkeeper, yeah.
Okay.
Bailey's,
What's
do you remember?
happened to Onana?
Bailey's standing in front of Onana.
I'm going to have to find it, mate. Man United.
And it's just curled it towards the back post. I'm pretty sure it went all the way in. And then Dundonka scored.
Oh, is it kind of one of those ones that it's a direct free kick, but he didn't mean it?
Yeah, but it counts, right?
It does count, yeah, but it's probably why I don't remember it. I don't think you call that a direct free kick opportunity because it's not in a shooting position.
No, I get what you're saying, but it's still...
But it was a direct free kick, yeah.
Yeah, I class that as a goal from a free kick.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. It's not,
but it's not like central to the goal and he's whipped it round.
But then
he's put a ball
equally,
in and
it's always a thing... Like, you used to take free kicks in those areas, and it would always be if you aim for the back post.
Yeah. Right, Stephen says, would you rather win the Conference League or qualify top 4? Would you rather
top 5
get in the Champions League and get through to the first knockout round? So that's the playoff round, I'm guessing. Say round of 16. Let's make it proper. You get to the round of 16.
You're knocked out round of 16.
Yeah. So worse than our performance this year by one game. Or qualify for the Europa League and have a good shot at winning it. He's put in brackets, providing we don't draw Crystal Palace at any point.
I know. Because
Imagine that.
I say I want to talk about this. It's not much to talk about, but that's a problem.
Imagine if we get to like a semi-final in the Europa League and we play Palace and we lose.
Yeah, Palace is a problem. We need Freiburg to do a job on them. I mean, Glasner may go in the summer. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought he does now.
He'll see out of the European.
It would be great for him to
campaign.
go out on a high, but then also,
he deserves.
They're in Europe now.
I mean, I'm not. I say he deserves a shot as if like Palace are considering getting rid of him, but I mean, like he should be allowed to. I'm phrasing this wrong.
I know what you're saying.
He shouldn't want to leave. He should want to go.
He should want to. And I think if they didn't get Europe and didn't win the FA Cup, I think he maybe would think about going back to Germany because it's been said in the media that Leipzig won it, but Leipzig aren't even in Europe next year. So I think for him, he'll be like, well, I'll do Palace. Why would I?
I think you can answer this question two ways. From the fan in me that is concerned about the future of the club. Champions League is obviously better for money, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But knowing you're going to go out straight away is a bit like.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even enter the competition if I knew we were going out around 16. What would be the point in celebrating a goal in the league phase?
Yeah, it'd literally just be like, oh, this is good for money, but
yeah, I know it's hypothetical.
I'm not going to do anything.
I would argue that even if Villa get in the Champions League, you're still going to have to sell players.
Yeah,
not
always.
I'm not talking about.
But the idea of having a shot at winning the Europa League that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm already kind of like accepting that, well, if we finish in the Europa League this year, I'm okay with that.
I think if you put the bookies odds the day after the season finished, and those were the kind of teams in the Europa League, we'd be favourites, right?
Another one from Ricardo. Sales aside, what 2 positions should we target most for big signings?
Okay, good question. If we're taking it that the midfield stays as it is, which is really difficult because you just don't know.
I was going to say the obvious answer is we have to go big on a goalkeeper.
You would have to tell me what's going to happen in each position because we
don't need to go big on a goalkeeper if Martinez stays.
If Saudi bids 60 million for Tielemans and he goes, well, you need a midfielder.
Yeah.
If Saudi bids 70 million, 80 million for Kamal, I don't know, or anything. If someone bids a huge amount of money and we accept it, then need replacing.
All right, let's answer the question as rather than big signings.
Yeah.
Provided everybody stayed, which obviously won't happen. Yeah. Where are we weakest?
Okay.
Right back and centre back?
Well, firstly, you are right. Got goalkeeper, but I'm going to clarify that as well. If you bring in Garcia, who appears to be our main target in that position, that would be that one covered, I guess. We do need another backup, though. Right back, I don't think it's a coincidence that Cash's performance has improved after Garcia's come through the door, which is always a good thing. So competition.
Cash has had a good season overall.
You need a left back to increase competition with Maatsen, and it's interesting because if you sell Dean, who's playing for France, and bring in a player who is not near that level, that's quite dramatically weaker, which is mad. If you had to say me, I'd say the right hand side of the pitch.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I like Rodgers off the left, so if I'm manager, that's the left side covered with him and Ramsey. In the middle, you've got Tielemans or Rodgers. You've got McGinn on the right side. What have you got? You probably don't have Bailey. You've got Marlon, but for different reasons, that I don't know. It's just not fancied. And even if he is next year, well, you need someone else.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who you'd be looking at exactly. I'd like to think there's we can definitely compete for those big players. I'd love Mbeumo from Brentford.
I don't see that happening.
I think he'd be gettable if we get the Champions League. Obviously, relatively expensive, I don't know, £60 or so million, but that would be a dream signing for me.
Yeah. Jonathan David, Merrick's asked, free transfer, good striker, would you take him?
Yeah, I would take him. But again,
I don't think it'll happen.
The issue is wage. He's going to obviously ask for a lot in wages. We have just paid that in terms of Rashford's big wage, essentially big wage, signing on fee as well. So it's going to be a deal that isn't like cheap just because he's a free transfer. However, he, I'm sure, would want to play in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
With Watkins as well. What's the...
Yeah, I know.
I mean, put it this way, if he has an offer from another club, call it a Napoli or Inter Milan, and there's a defined position for him there and he will start most games, he will choose that team over Villa.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain. But yeah, if we're in Europa League and we keep Watkins, I don't see why he'd want to come to us.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of the other options he could have.
Penultimate question then of the football section from Andrew says, what's the best final day of the season Villa have been directly involved in until this one upcoming?
Yeah.
Now, I've done a bit of research for this one, thanks to my dad, because we actually were speaking about this in the car on the way back after Spurs, that a final day with something to play for doesn't happen very often. And how many times have we been in that situation before? It was what we were talking about. And we came up with a few, and we've done a bit of research since. He actually rang me this morning before I came in saying 1988 and all these different things. I wrote them down. We did the prep before we started. So I'm going to reel off a few for you. 1980, I mean, the answer, not for us because we weren't alive, but the best final day, 1981, Villa won the league on the final day. So it's hard to kind of get better than that.
Yeah.
That happened, though, by second place Ipswich losing to Middlesbrough, and Villa lost to Arsenal on the final day. So the result wasn't good for Villa, but they went for us elsewhere. And there's a theme coming here.
My dad was one of the first on the pitch at Highbury.
Was he?
Yep. He always tells
I hope he got a banning order after that.
Well, can we put that out?
Can we get a retrospective banning order, please?
And he was saying like down the motorways and stuff, it was like every car had your Claret and blue and whatever.
I love it.
That would have been great scenes.
So that's probably the answer, right, to Andrew's question. The final day in 1988, we were promoted from the second division. We got a 0-0 draw with Swindon, which put us second on 78 points.
Good point. Good point.
Great point. Borough in third lost on the final day, but they were also on 78 points with the same goal difference.
Yeah.
Villa scored 5 more goals, I think. So it's either, I don't know whether it was goals for or head-to-head. Was it goals for?
Oh, well, we scored more goals.
Yeah, it could have been head-to-head.
Our record was
maybe,
exactly the same as well.
Which is
wins, lose.
Great point against Swindon. Really was.
Yeah.
If we'd lost, we'd have finished third and on into the playoffs. Was it playoffs back then? Yeah, it must have been. Yeah. Bradford and Blackburn were also behind us that year. 1 point behind they finished. Blackburn lost to Millwall, who were champions, and Bradford lost to Ipswich. So results really went for Villa's way in 1988 as well.
Yeah.
2020, final day. Villa stayed up on the final day with results going their way.
In the middle of the summer as well.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
As a kind of cop-out one, playoff final was the final day of the season for us, at least, and the result went our way. It doesn't really count, but you know what I mean. 2023, Brighton at home. Villa had to win to finish 7th and did win.
Brentford finished 1 point behind us because they beat City on the final day.
Yeah, results
so if we didn't
went our way. We had to do our job and we did it. And also as a cop-out, but kind of, 2025 Champions League phase, final day against Celtic. We had to win to get into the top 8.
It does work. Other clubs were playing.
Yeah, everyone played at the same kick-off time when it was all everyone's kind of one game left.
The same vibes.
It's the final day of that thing, and results went Villa's way. So there's at least 3 good examples there, maybe 4 or 5.
Can't think of many bad ones, put it that way.
Exactly, yeah. So when Villa have something to play for on the final day...
Why do I feel like that's a bad thing?
It's gone our way, so going into the final day in 2025, Villa, Man United, Chelsea, Forest, Newcastle, Everton...
Could someone put it in the comments what's been a bad final day for us?
I was trying to look just through final days generally when there's something on it. Like,
I don't remember.
Villa will have lost games on the final day.
Oh, yeah,
but like it meaning something...
Matter. Yeah.
I don't think it's happened very often. Not up until the period that we've looked at least, anyway. And of course, there'll be people listening going, "Oh, they forgot Norwich in 1993," or whatever. There will be others, of course, there will. But yeah, there's a couple of examples there of Villa needing to do something on the final day, and either us doing our job or the results going forward.
Can someone please balance this out? I think we need it to be balanced out a little bit because I'm a bit,
Well, it'll probably be balanced out by Sunday, mate.
Great.
Right, a couple of silly questions then to end this episode. It's been a good one. I've enjoyed it. Dan says, if Villa qualify for the Champions League, but it means John is never able to resell an Easter egg again, would you accept?
No, of course I would. Yeah. I don't do that now.
Make £2 back on your mini egg.
Yeah, my mum doesn't buy me Easter eggs now.
Yeah. I love that. There will be plenty of new.
Don't even explain it.
New audience. Will just go, what are you on about? Yeah, it's your fault for joining us late.
Yeah, this is what you miss.
And final question from Talking AVFC. It's talking cheese instead. If you were a type of cheese, what cheese would you be?
So I don't know many cheeses.
No, I don't really.
Do you like cheese?
I was going to say, it's exactly the same to you. I do, yeah. Do you?
No.
Oh, I knew you'd say no. You strike me as a non-cheese person.
I don't remember the last time I ate cheese. Might not even be ever.
No, shut up.
I'm not sure.
Take away the obvious things like pizza. You had cheese on pizza, surely.
I don't eat pizza. Again, pizza I would have had as like a 6-year-old at school. I don't think I've had it since then.
Well, that's killed that segment.
Sorry.
Dead in the water.
I know what you got. You got, is it what your favourite cheese? I don't like cheese. So
if you were going to be, if you were going to be a cheese, what does that even mean?
Hold on, no. Let's strip it back. What does it even mean
exactly,
anyway?
If you were going to be a cheese.
If I was going to be a cheese and do what? If anyone's got tickets for a Tom Hanks movie screening with free pizza, I won't be there.
Movie about cheese as well, just to top it off.
Is there a movie about cheese that he's done? Probably.
Philadelphia. Wasted on him, this humour. If you found that funny, let me know in the comments down below because my humour is wasted on John Townley. But it's been a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Our final Q&A. No, it's not actually. If you didn't see our video with Harvey, the guy who's run 11 marathons in 11 days, that's on the YouTube channel, not the podcast feed. And if you want to donate to his cause, you can do so as well. Right, John, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching along or listening to this episode of the Claret Blue podcast. And we'll see you in a couple of days.